Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane. A bit one from the archives. Yes, indeed, the archives. A lot of replays hidden there. And rather had to pull it up because, again, there's been a huge, well, basically drought in replays of a higher caliber. So we shall be watching Aljaz fighting for the Wehrmacht for the 21st Panzer Division, going up against AsiiDemolitionJeep, aka Symbiosis. Two very high-ranked players, although this is a month-old play still. Pretty good players even then. Damn good players even. With DemolitionJeep fighting for the 30th Infantry Division. We are seeing a standard start going up here for Aljaz, two Pioneers, Wehrmacht quarters. Same business right there from DemolitionJeep, barracks and a few engineers. So nothing out of the ordinary there for the time being. You'll of course have to see how this one actually evolves, and there we go. First full Grenadier squad out for Aljaz. Rifleman popping out there. Not quite the same capping order though from the two players, whereas DemolitionJeep is spreading more out. We are seeing Aljaz perhaps more of a focus towards the northwestern corner. In fact, the false Grenadiers are charging ahead. Could be they're heading in fact straight for the viewpoint in the hopes of securing that. But so is DemolitionJeep, so we're going to have the first fight right here within minutes. And there we go, the false Grenadiers reach the fuel point, but immediately come under fire from the rifle, and the M1 Garands firing at the Krauts. False Grenadiers pull back towards a slight sandbag position, what used to be a flak feeling position. Rifle immediately coming under fire, they realise they can't quite win this, instead they go for the fuel point. Pioneer securing here, another false Grenadier squad soon already. And there we go, slightly trying to flank. We do see that DemolitionJeep Hammock takes advantage of the fact that Aljaz has left the heavy cover and then proceeds to take it up. We do see Pioneers now moving up to assist the false Grenadiers with their MP40s, although they need to be a bit closer to actually fire them off. And at the same time though, Aljaz is actually splitting up his false Grenadiers on another path. I'm not convinced that is a good idea. Usually you get the most benefit with false Grenadiers working with other units, not on their own. And sadly, that is currently what is happening. He's sitting north on their own, and there's the rifleman squad up there. Engineers there. This could actually end up very badly for the false Grenadiers. Rifleman here, though, continue to fight. We do see one false Grenadier down, one Pioneer squad pulling away. Rifleman down to 4 men, but they are considerably low. Another false Grenadier about to dust. Even these riflemen will certainly have done something for Uncle Sam, although they do proceed to lose another man there. They've certainly bought some time for DemolitionJeep. At the same time, false Grenadiers are moving up here. But we are going to be seeing the rifle sneak up right here and spring the trap, forcing those false Grenadiers away. And ultimately, only one rifleman makes away from the western half of the map, although killing several false Grenadiers in the process. And there we go, false Grenadiers, one man down. They were not even able to kill one engineer over there. The rifleman basically forced the issue on poor Aljaz. MG42's moving up here, securing the central victory point. A bit of a standoff right here between the Pioneers and Engineers. Pioneers quick to take up position in the control tower. This is flight control. Yes, we don't have a Luftwaffe at the moment. So, yeah. Engagement going on here in the center. The riflemen quickly push up there. MG42 setting up to support the false Grenadiers, but the false Grenadiers are not going to be able to really do much. Other false squad going to move back up. We're seeing a sniper out, so two false Grenadiers, MG sniper for Aljaz, pretty common. Flamethrower Pioneers, our Engineers now pushing away the Pioneers with Flammen. Mine going off here, killing and wounding and pinning. Flamethrower Engineers quickly take up position in the control tower. And the false Grenadiers are quickly not doing well. They're trying to pull in. There we go. The Engineers running straight into the MG42. Bursts of glorious German fire. Suppresses and even kills. But we do see Riflemen pulling up to flank. We are at the same time, though, seeing a false squad closing in on the Riflemen. The MG42 firing away there. Engineers, in fact, pin. Rifleman bites at dust. Will the false Grenadiers be able to win this one? There we go. Rifleman, in fact, quickly dropping the MG support guns on the MG42. In fact, was able to do quite a bit of damage. Sniper now out, rifleman though going up to flank the false Grenadier position. Is the sniper, there we go. Rifleman bites the dust as a Kar 9. Okay, there for the free bullet actually penetrates his skull. Right hand side is falling nicely as Demolition Jeep is keeping pretty much all of Aljaz's forces occupied in the west, and we're also seeing him getting a mine sweep. He's clearly worried that Demolition Jeep will be laying down mines to make it even harder for Aljaz's troops to actually advance and take territory. That's definitely not a bad idea. Skirmish phase reached another pioneer on the way, so interesting. Hoping here looks like Aljaz hoping to secure more territory faster, and of course also have some troops taking points. Rather than engaging the Fultz Grenadiers, the Pioneers need to support however they can. It's just going to be one MP40 firing away, otherwise I fear these Fultz Grenadiers will not make it. Sniper continues, and there we go, tearing down another rifleman. West slowly falling into the hands of the Germans, although the Pioneers seem to be pretending to take the point, but not actually doing it. And there we go, the Fultz Grenadier Pioneer combo forces away the rifleman up there. Minor victories, and there we go, we actually do spot a mine. Minefield, Minenfeld, meine Herren. And that was actually nicely spotted, otherwise the sniper could have risked actually running into it. Which is also why a reason if you want to get minesweepers. Looks like Demolition Jeep is rallying a bit, although one rifleman scored. Oh, never mind, he's not actually sent it off yet. Definitely going to need some reinforcements, supply it up, going straight for the motor pool. No mines from Aljaz though. Krieg Barracks going out. And then Armid is Vaterlanders. And the sniper standing by the guard booth. Mines going back down right here. Nice spot for that. Very nice choke points. Very nice mining points. Securing the munitions there. They're going pushing in from the north. The Pioneers are definitely in trouble. And this entire area is largely unguarded. And this is, in fact, where Demolition Jeep is launching his strike. And the MD42 is definitely not anywhere to sort of hold this central area. It's a bit far removed. But there we go, mine secure. Might want to take that victory point. In fact, victory points have so far not really been a priority for Aljaz. He's down to 400 while Demolition Jeep has yet to lose a single victory point. More sniper fire.
We are ready to push back the My marksmanship is at your service.
Mines further going down here for Demolition Jeep, giving himself some minesweepers. Again, he's of course also worried that Aljaz will be laying down mines. So again, very, solid high rank play there. Mines win games. The sniper here though needs to be careful. Oh dear, he could go down. Although thankfully the riflemen do not have BARs, otherwise that would very much have been the case. They'd simply had shredded the bastard. Mines going down there. Very aggressive mining going on here from Demolition Jeep. He's not even taking the territory, but already he's mining just in case he's actually being forced back. That way slowing down any pursuers and causing them quite some grief. Armoured car out for Demolition Jeep at the same time. Grenadiers up. And we also see a Pack 38 on the way. The Panther Abwehrkanone, meaning basically tank defense gun. And there we go, Greyhound getting spotted. Fultz is coming under fire. Aljaz doing his best to actually gain a nice chunk of the territory, but he's definitely getting some trouble as... Oh, Pioneer Squad went down. The minesweepers were lost to the Greyhound. That is definitely going to hurt a bit. Particularly if Demolition Jeep continues to lay down mines in the way of Aljaz's troops. So that is definitely something that could be very well taken advantage of right there by Aljaz. I mean, Demolition Jeep if he so fancies. Sniper though continues to kill. Bit of quiet. Securing there. So far Aljaz has gained the majority map control, but the armor car could definitely work against that. Although there's one pack, there's one thing that is counting against the pack. There's a lot of buildings blocking line of fire, meaning the armored car can basically weave in and about, thus dodging a lot of shots and taking shots at other units which cannot be covered by the pack. So there's something definitely to consider there. Of course we'll have to see how it actually works out. Pioneers getting caught far away from the Vaterland, and there we go, pushed away. Oh, the sniper went down! The Greyhound shot the sniper like that. Apparently he was just being a bit uncautious, and the Greyhound basically sought this, let's get the sniper. That is definitely going to hurt Aljaz. Mine goes off there, killing and suppressing full screens on the far left. Mine's going off there, killing numerous Riflemen behind, only 2 at a very terrible state. Tree Center though is up for Demolition Jeep now. That's good. And we're immediately seeing a Storm Army going up for Aljaz. Engineers moving about on their own, seeking out mines. In fact, might have cleared out some of them right there, although the other one actually did go off. But Aljaz's expansion plans have been slightly delayed, as Demolition Jeep is rallying quite nicely. Engineers coming under fire from some grenadiers of the 21st Panzer Division, which was left to hold the Alsace-Lorraine region as really as the only Panzer division. Otherwise, it was a few Panzer Grenadier units, I believe, and, well, Panzer Brigades. Greyhound sneaking about on the far left flank, Riflemen up on the right. Clearly, I mean, Demolition Jeep is, you know, not trying to play Aljaz's game. He's clearly trying to harass and, of course, trying to sneak through every crack he can and basically force Aljaz to spread dangerously thin. Because he does currently have a very wide frontage, which is definitely to the advantage of Demolition Jeep, where he can then sort of try and strike through and any places where Aljaz is not actually watching. And BARs are now up as well, increasing the firepower, getting further advantage. We're seeing grenades from the grenadiers on the Riflemen. Others getting pinned, others getting grenaded. Medic packs popping up. First guys doing what they can, coming under intense fire at the same time, and that 4th squad is taking away territory. Pack pointing this direction. We do finally see the Volkskrieger succeeding there, and we do see the Riflemen being shoved off from there, but at the same time efforts continue on the west. We do see an armoured car popping out for Aljaz, the heavy kind. At the same time the Greyhound pushes in against the Volkskrieger and the MG, forcing this. Oh no, mind, that's a Grenadier squad, not a Volkskrieger squad. But nonetheless they are gone. Pack reveals itself, and the Greyhound again successfully escapes due to the many things blocking the line of fire of the pack. So it might be to Aljaz's benefit to actually get a Stug, or perhaps upgrade an armoured car to a Puma, and that way actually try to deal with the armoured car rather than hoping he can actually lure it into a pack. I mean, it's either that or he needs to get a lot more packs, and we're talking 3 packs to sort of cover all 3 major areas of engagement in the centre, the right flank and the west flank.
Just listen to that engine burr.
Until then, I mean, Demolition Jeep is going to be playing a game of cat and mouse, constantly striking and hoping, you know, to again keep the pack basically on the back foot, unsure where to place itself. And there we go, already sneaking a smaller force towards the right hand side. 2 armoured cars, so can deal with this, but again they also risk running into the American car, which they cannot win a fight with. Another mine sweep up for Aljaz, but he's going to might lose that Pioneer squad. Panther Faust, no sound of the pack. Right here getting blasted by the armoured car. Other 2 squads getting fired upon there. And what is sent to deal with the engineers with an MG42? A bit limited. Rather than end up losing the fight there, the armoured car quickly moves forwards, taking it cautiously, just trying to sneak out a bit, peek out and get off a few shots, killing perhaps a Yank or 2. Right in here though, not doing too well either, not doing too well. And right here the engineers continue to take away without much resistance from the Wehrmacht. Another pack out. Kampfkraft center going up now. Interesting, interesting. And there we go, the armoured car once more rears his head, but we do see response from Demolition Jeep, getting his own anti-tank gun. Engineers over here getting absolutely splattered by the MD-42. And we do see infantry destruction up for Demolition Jeep. He calls in artillery straight on the MD-42. First shot strikes the kill and completely clears out the entire MG gunner crew. Nice usage of it, probably where again, you know, and there's a certain, you know, trick for using artillery to partly, you know, where your opponent is probably not paying attention. He probably was not paying attention on an MG-42 on the far flank, and that absolutely devastating. That's going to force Aljaz to temporarily sacrifice the Volkswagen squad, thus leaving behind only 2 men who will need to be reinforced to get that MG42 functional again. Grenadiers here, they're fighting quite nicely against the riflemen. They could try and lob a grenade right here into the cover and force them out, or kill them, or basically force them completely away. Grenadier bites the dust. He might want some veterans for his infantry. Well, he definitely wants it. Volkswagen here coming out of 5 veterans. He 1 up in that more or less same moment for Aljaz's infantry. MG42 opens up on the riflemen. Pioneers for some reason flanking in. Greyhound moving up. And riflemen coming under nasty, nasty fire. Anti-tank gun nicely positioned.
Our front lines are collapsing.
Going for the fuel point on the far left. Pack moving to the far right. And the Greyhound moves forwards, opening up on the MG42. Gets off a nice hit, killing both of the support gunners with 1 blast and gaining veterans who want increasing speed. There we go. Pack fires away, but again, just needs to pull a bit behind, and again, something blocks the line of fire. Packs are not really highly effective on this map for many fascinating reasons. Another pack moving up there. Not that there's going to be much to use it for. Rather than getting blasted, but again, there might be an anti-tank and ready to force away the armoured car. At the same time, he could, of course, consider trying getting a mortar out. I mean, a mortar on this map would actually be quite beneficial because, again, it wouldn't matter that there's a lot of buildings in the way. He can just fire over them. So this is probably more a mortarman's map.
57mm at your service. Taking fire! Take that armored car!
Holding up the center. Armor coming up the flank. They're opening up the riflemen. Pack spotted. Rifleman going in after it. Not a bad idea. Grenadier enforcement is another. Grenadiers have been equipped with a Panther track to try and fight that pesky armor car. The pack though gets decrewed. Right here they're getting certainly blasted. We're going to see no sticky bomb stopped. Does not want to risk losing too many men in the process. Greyhound here taking heavy fire but pulling away. Going to probably pull over to another theatre, or at least back for repairs. Rifleman here getting fired by Volkswagen between some of the ruined buildings. MG firing away. Armor coming up to flank the rifleman right there. That could definitely work out nicely. Pack recruit. And the riflemen here are definitely getting shot at. They're probably going to go after that pack. No, they're going to pop into the building, interestingly enough. Not entirely sure why DemolitionJeep insists on popping them into that building. They're not going to do a lot there, but we do see the Greyhound moving up. At the same time, riflemen trying to get that sense of victory point, but they do not succeed. Foes going down to the Greyhound, which continues to kill Germans with glee. Riflemen inside the building are now taking quite a bit of fire. And are finally abandoning the building. Meantime, Volkswagen is taking heavy losses. Fire sweeps over the battlements, and the flak filling falls even further apart. Nebelwerfer up for Aljaz now. A bit of rocket artillery. Artillery getting called in on the MG42. On the other hand, oh dear, again. MG needs to get out of there. Does not succeed. Nebelwerfer crew suffers a casualty. The MG gets completely ruined. And yes, even the machine guns have health. But the MG is still there. The crew is even alive, at least most of it is, but not perhaps in the best condition. Rangers now getting sent in to support DemolitionJeep. And I mean, in a map like this, with the sort of shorter ranges, I mean, bazookas can in fact do alright because the vehicle can't stay at that long range against the Rangers. So definitely not necessarily a bad idea there. And there we go. Armored car takes a hit from the Greyhound. Volkswagen's moving up to support. Sticky bomb goes off on the armored car. Definitely going to be a threat there. Panther hits the Greyhound, causing a damage. Engine with the Grenadiers stop up to fight the engineers instead of trying to finish it off. At the same time, Rangers pushing in. Rangers leading their way against the crouch. And there we go. Grenade goes off. The engineers could go down. That would definitely also be nasty. And there we go. Engineer squad lost. Volkswagen is moving up, past through the other ruins, going to engage the Rangers. Well, at least some of them are. Heinz. There we go, the Rangers pulling slightly back, waiting for additional forces. Tank Dever going up, more engineers on the way. 4th DemolitionJeep. Armored car here holding the flank clear. Map split essentially a bit 50-50. And let's go look at Aljaz. And there we go, pushing up with the rifle against 2 Volkswagen squads. This could not end up well unless, of course, he succeeds in actually pulling off a decent inspired assault here. But that's actually a bit too late, particularly considering the positioning of the men. It would not work. He would lose too many men. On the other hand, had he been quick enough to get behind the heavy cover and had activated before the rifle had reached it, he might actually won it by basically focusing down one squad quickly at a time. And that way, I think he could actually defeat the rifleman with minimal casualties. But Inspired Assault is definitely a bit of a tricky ability to use. Pioneers in getting engaged. Grenadiers fighting in the center. No Veteran T2 for them as of yet. Instead, we see Veteran T2 for the vehicles. Doesn't do much for armored cars. Gives them increased line of sight. Doesn't do that much for packs either. Veterans want support units. There we go. Needleworkers firing into this little, I don't know, trench area. Pit. Killing quite a few riflemen, causing intense casualties, leaving behind only one man. That Needleworker is definitely a deliverer of death. Rangers get off 2 bazooka rockets into the rear of the armored car, taking down to half health. But with a tank depot now, he could definitely consider getting either the Sherman or tank destroyers. Tank destroyers would definitely benefit against the armored cars, Sherman against the infantry, but also a bit the armored cars. Would certainly also be a bit tougher to take out for the packs. Battle phase now completed for Aljaz. He's going for the Panther command. That's definitely going to be interesting. Missing right hand terror so far for Aljaz. Armored car continues to fight. The pack's not pointing in the right direction. Rifleman sneaking about there. Needleworker needs a medic pack, I think. And an attempt to reach that right viewpoint is quickly foiled. I mean, Aljaz has now gotten a slightly more competent force for dealing with the flanking attempts. I mean, the more packs are helping. They're keeping Demolition Jeep a bit more contained, but he can still not quite advance. And turning the rifle BRs are also definitely causing quite some attrition amongst his infantry. Needleworker rockets are also helping. That should not be underestimated. And Aljaz is slowly once more making advances. The Rangers going in straight for the Volkswagen right there. And are likely to win unless something goes very wrong. And there we go, already one Volkswagen bites the dust. Armored car doing what they can to deal with the rifle right there. And grenade goes off, I think. Small advance going up there, left side. Trying to get that Greyhound away, while at the same time the center collapses. Now the Rangers have it equipped with Thompson submachine guns. Bazookas fly away. Not quite succeeding in actually hitting anything. And there we go, the armored car takes a hit. Anti-tank and also moved out, in fact, exposing its rear in a nasty way. Greyhound not doing too well. I mean, armored car not doing too well. The Grenadiers have yet to actually engage. Still in the Veteran 2. Panther command on the way for Aljaz. And, I mean, really nice movement there from Demolition Jeep, not striking one place, but several. Again, forcing Aljaz to either spread out, risking, annihilation, or, again, deliberately sacrificing territory to be able to hold other bits and perhaps even get some kills on Demolition Jeep. And it's actually time for the mid-game analysis. The current situation, again, territory-wise, rather 50-50. But, I mean, Demolition Jeep does have the advantage of initiative, and that means he can rather determine how this goes, and he's certainly doing so. Again, he's trying to, again, get Aljaz to catastrophically spread out, making him on that way piecemeal much easier, or getting him to sacrifice some territory, thus so he can actually hold some other territory better, not lose as many units, but at the same time he will succeed resources to Demolition Jeep, thus allowing him to keep up further pressure that way. And problem is, Aljaz doesn't quite have a lot of reserves. He doesn't have quite a lot of units that can dig the enemy out. He's lacking in either mortars or further needleworkers. He needs, for example, some more infantry. Of course, he could consider Knights Cross Soldiers to try and force Demolition Jeep back. He also needs a Panther 4, I think, perhaps a Panther in the longer run. But definitely perhaps a mortar. And the armored cars are not quite doing as much damage, I think, as they could be in this case. For Demolition Jeep, he the job is basically to keep up that pressure, keep, him spreading out, get either some Shermans or some Hellcats out. In fact, there's a Hellcat, in fact, arriving at that very moment, and, begin knocking out the armored cars. They're definitely a vital part, and as soon as they go, Aljaz will be much, much weaker. Ooh, good supply of upgrades. But let's return to the fight. The M18 Hellcat basically designed after actually asking American tank destroyer crews what they wanted. Fast on going in, trying to get the anti-tank gun, perhaps even the armored car, and it actually succeeds in knocking out, I think. Yes, indeed. Finally, the armored car goes down after calling in an incendiary rocket attack. Talk about overkill. At the same time, the anti-tank gun gets cleared out again. Continued infiltration assaults by Demolition Jeep, sneaking through the front line again, are simply too thin for Aljaz. He does simply not have the infantry to hold it. He's got only 3 infantry squads, and he's trying to hold this sort of, amount of territory. That's not really helpful. At least he needs 1 more squad, and for that, perhaps, he'd need a medic bunker to sustain. Either that, or he should have gone blitzkrieg, gun himself some storms. And there we go. 1 armored car, of course, and that's the part where, he's cleared out a pack, opening up for the Hellcat to swoop in and knock out the armored car. Really, really nice play right there by Aljaz. And he's, again, basically looking for any weaknesses in the defenses of Aljaz, and then he's striking there. It's rather some rapid insertions, dagger strikes rather than strikes with a broadsword. And Aljaz is actually having a bit of trouble dealing with it. Now he's got an Ostwind, but that's obviously not going to do the trick against the Hellcat. And looks like another one certainly. Plus, he's gotten himself now a pack out from the Germans. So any sort of armor that Aljaz can throw out on the field is definitely going to be a bit under pressure. In fact, he's lost both armored cars, and now that is definitely a huge blow. We do see some Knights Crossholders out, increasing the amount of infantry that is available for Aljaz and the 21st Panzer Division. But, that's definitely not a problem. The Ostwind doing what they can to hold up the center. The Hellcats rain death upon the Volksgunners, on the only killing 1. Pack doing what it can to support. Volksgunners taking up position in the control center. Reporting on the weather and any American movements. Anti-tank gun firing away at the control center, which is, in fact, the risk of getting knocked out, I think. Should be a bit careful there. Right-hand side victory point falling to the Americans, to the 30th Infantry. Munitions being secured. And there we go, another pack hit. Rangers moving in, that's definitely going to overpower the Grenadiers and positions again. No veterancy too for Aljaz's infantry. Now we're seeing another Knights Crossholder squad. He's definitely now pushing out a lot of infantry, perhaps realizing what he needs. The question if it's not a bit too late. There we go. Grenade off, but yeah, this is rather much collapsing. Ostwind being rushed in to try and contain. Possibly some Knights Cross would also be a beneficial idea. But now we're seeing a solid push going up from Demolition Jeep in towards the center. 3 riflemen squad strong. Minor forces in the west, Rangers and anti-tank gun going to stop any German counterattack solidly. And in fact, the Ostwind takes a direct hit. Again, he needs infantry. Rangers pushing up there, Knights Cross coming under fire. Intensify, in fact, they are rather outgunned. Niebler doing what they can in the center. Support is needed, and we are seeing Knights Cross squad number 2 and a full squad being sent in to try and help the Knights Cross. Then we're going to be seeing assault going in on the riflemen. In fact, they're a bit clammed up, so there we go. Stunning and wounding Knights Cross, staying up in the retreat path. Could actually cause quite a bit of grief, and then we go, rifleman down. No, he's ignoring it. He's ignoring a chance to actually get some kills on it. I think that's a definite shame. And now he's lost the Knights Cross holder. And there we go, the other rifle squad quickly retreating as well. And there we go, gone. And of course, American tank destroyer doctrine was always a bit confused. For example, it would also consider a anti-tank gun, a tank destroyer. In fact, a tank destroyer battalion could either be stuff like Hellcats or be stuff like, anti-tank guns. And there would be no major distinction as such. in terms of how they're actually supposed to be used and employed as well, which is also a bit of a difference. And of course the fact is, you know, American tanks were a lot more soft-skinned, and they were in fact also open-topped. Grenadiers trying to get into safety by popping into the house, very close to death there by the Rangers, but the Knights Cross saved the day. Although so far they only managed 1 kill. And there we go, 5 Knights Cross versus lots of riflemen and some flamethrower engineers. Knights Cross biting the dust. Riflemen getting killed there. Moving up closer and losing quite a few men in the process. The Sturmgewehrs doing their job. Volksgrenadiers moving up as well. And pressure on several points. Volksgrenadiers not doing quite as well as the Knights Cross, but there we go. Needler for supporting. They're going in. Stopping the rifle there, opening up for the Knights Cross to advance. Volksgrenadiers pushing up there. The Volksgrenadiers on the right hand side, though, were lost. The pressure continues to increase, so now we're seeing a Panther, but there's no armor veterans up for Aljaz. He also lost the Ostwind somehow. Must have missed that. What a shame, what a shame. I'm sure it was a heroic fight with a heroic sacrifice in the end.
We are ready to push back the Yankees.
Having a demolition jeep again, anti-tank and firing at the Grenadiers. Probably should not have been left that much on its own, and we do see demolition jeep relaunching it and pulling it out. Rangers pushing up there, coming under immediate fire from the Panther and the Knights Cross Pioneers going down rather quickly, obviously. And the bazooka is actually left behind. With the bazooka rather being the original rocket launcher, if you will. The Germans basically copied, looked at it after having taken either from the Soviets, which actually received a few in the earlier parts of the Eastern Front, or you know, from the British in North America, anyone in North Africa actually, and then basically just improved upon it, made it a much more effective weapon.
Losing a munition sector.
So a bit of fun there. Grenade going off at the Knights Cross, causing quite a bit of havoc and quite a bit of damage. Pioneers losing in the west. Finally, veterans run up for Aljaz. Hellcats pushing up there on the right hand side. And certainly Aljaz is getting further and further pressured, more and more units being arrayed against him, and he's constantly losing a few here and there as well. He has to deal with numerous riflemen, squads, Rangers, Hellcats, and anti-tank guns. And the Panther right here is a bit on its own. Volksgrenadiers doing what they can against riflemen. Oh dear. Oh! How did that happen? Apparently it was the old paint some candy on the trick, and they might actually think it's candy. Riflemen getting pushed away.
Under siege. The Germans are moving in.
Knights Cross getting reinforced. But again, Aljaz is having a trouble actually establishing and holding a cohesive front line by now. Panzerfaust on the Hellcat, they're just rushing through. Rangers rifle going in, forcing that squad away, leaving the other one quite far behind enemy lines with a very dangerous path of retreat. Grenadiers going in as well. Also quite on their own. We do see the riflemen engineers coming under fire here. And a sticky bomb on the Panther again. And a damaged engine. That's going to very much make an easy target for the Hellcats if they were to rush in. It looks like they're there. But the presence of a punch rate does contain them. And dim their enthusiasm for an assault. Needleweaver could be firing away. Something, I suppose, it kills. Another Needleweaver now arriving for Aljaz, increasing the amount of artillery he had available. And there we go, coming under fire from the Rangers. From the Rangers. Panther moves in, but it's actually receiving hits to the side. from the Ranger, and the Panther actually had a bit of a vulnerable side. Initially it was actually 40mm of armor, but was later increased to 50mm of armor, but even meant that a bazooka could in fact knock out a Panther from the side. And thus a Panther was always instructed to present the front of the armor towards the enemy. And we are seeing more artillery going off here, likely towards here. Getting one Knight's Cross Soldier right away. Hellcat's advance through the ruins. Gets in the line of sight of the Panther. Takes a rear armor hit. Takes quite a bit of a nasty damage amount there. And actually continues to fight it out with the Panther, which is actually getting repaired. And there we go, another third away of the health. Very little left. Very little left. But uses his speed to escape the already damaged Panther. Nice. And an off-map command group provides him with another Hellcat, a Greyhound, and 2 more riflemen squads. I mean, we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squads of riflemen and a Ranger squad. And 3 Hellcats. I mean, my goodness, that's a huge army. I mean, that's going to be a considerable problem for Aljaz at this stage to contain. I mean, if he had a medic bunker, he might have been able to keep up with it, but he did not get that. And a Needlerf actually gets wrecked. Knight's Cross doing what they can. And we're actually seeing an attempt to knock out the Needlerf for good. But will it succeed? Likely. More Needlerf 5 from the other Needlerfer. And there we go, the Needlerfer does go down. Knight's Cross close in with the rifle and does succeed in pushing them away. Heavy fire going in towards the center, suppressing and pinning. The Greyhound advances with swiftness and valor. Takes a hit there, and he's actually going in for the other Needlerfer. He's laying down a Greyhound right in front of it. And the Panther sets it off, wrecking the Greyhound and a Blitzkrieg grenade. He was using Blitzkrieg grenades, and he actually knocked out the Greyhound. Crikey. Gott im Himmel. That is one hell of a grenade. Although grenades were slightly used in anti-tank purposes, though that was largely the Gebaltelagen, or basically the grenade that the Stormtroopers used. That was actually used a bit earlier in the war for anti-tank purposes. Right here, taking a bit, and we're seeing another sticky bomb going off on the Panzerkampfwagen 5, damaging the engine, exposing the rear to the anti-tank gun. We're already seeing a damaged engine. We're seeing a rear armor hit. This is definitely not looking good. Knight's Cross counter-attack with Valor. Right, Rangers moving up to flank, opening up with the Panther. Another Panther arrived for Aljaz. And we do see the pack getting decrewed. Pioneers working away to save the Panther. Knight's Cross charging up madly, forcing away riflemen there. And we're actually seeing some losses there for Demolition Jeep. The Rangers here, they continue to suffer intense fire from the Panthers. 19 kills on that one. That's a good job. I mean, this was actually, though, be one of the situations where it was just actually getting veterancy too. Since, I mean, there's a lot of infantry with infantry weaponry. In that case, getting further veterancy for your Panthers actually pays off. Since further veterancy, then veterans 1 makes infantry, well, Panthers more resilient towards infantry. And basically overall better. Infantry, they're attacking up. Panthers doing what they can. The Hellcats moving in, trying to flank about. Grenadiers moving up with a Panzershake. Will they be able to save the Panther? Dual Panzershake. There we go. Hellcat down. Engineers forced away. Panther, though, is lost. The Hellcat out of control. Fires through the engine block. Pioneers, though, swift to salvage for any further munitions. And the Knight's Cross are lost. Or at least forced to retreat. Quite the engagement here, quite the engagement, quite the pressure, quite the back and forth from both players. Taking the fuel over there. Volkswagen's coming under fire there. Now go, the Volkswagens are getting pushed away by the riflemen. Sneaking up there, lovely work. Bit of minor fighting going on there. Volkswagen's hold up within the rail building. Rifleman actually bites the dust. Panther doing what he can to bombard the rifleman, going for that munitions, but Aljaz has been pushed back quite far. Another Needlerf arrives for Aljaz.
57mm at your service.
And the heavy press. Oh, we could see a rifle squad go down for... There we go. Demolition Jeep did lose, and we see Propaganda Wall now available for Aljaz, forcing away the Rangers, leaving the rifle here exposed to quite a bit of fire as Volksgunners far away from the building, and the Knight's Cross turn the remaining riflemen into mush, firing into their guts quite viciously.
Rifleman squad, front and center.
So clearly Aljaz is not out of the fight, but he's definitely got an uphill fight waiting for him. And quick to salvage whatever he can for additional munitions. Anti-tank was up with the Panther. He wouldn't need to push in the Knight's Cross towards him. In fact, he's not using the Volksgunners to take a point, but the Knight's Cross. I think it would be better to just leave that for the Volksgunners and then push on with the Knight's Cross towards the centre, clearing up what is there instead of sending in a single Grenadier squad with dual Panthers that not really effective against the infantry. I think that was a slight wrong choice there by Aljaz. Hellcat's making swift progress on the far west side. Again, perhaps hoping to hook about and hit the Panther in the rear. And we are seeing the rifle going straight for the Panther. Panther's being forced away. A direct assault. And again, most of the other defense forces from Aljaz are too far away to actually be able to really react. A bold strike by Demolition Jeep, which definitely works. Oh, Panther fires. Blah. And gets within range of the MG bunker, about the cover right there, does provide some protection. And we do see a full assault going in there, pushing in again with the vast majority of infantry he has available, forcing away the Knight's Cross. Absolutely overwhelming power going in there from Demolition Jeep, and more sticky bombs on the Panther. Let's go look at Aljaz, damaging the engine quite severely. And another pack out for Aljaz. Two Nebelwerfers calling in more of the Werfer batteries. Possibly forced to use a Volkswerfer battery, which was basically the Volksgrenadier version of the Nebelwerfer batteries, although basically only in name. The only sort of real difference came in the Volksgrenadier divisions, but also the Volksartillerie, which was basically an attempt by the Germans to recreate the Soviet artillery, which was basically just all sorts of artillery mixed together. That means light, medium, and heavy. But the problem for the Germans was they could never really manage the same numbers, the same density. And the Grenadier squad goes down to artillery strike, wiping it out to a man. I don't even think a Panther strike was left behind, so that's also 150 munitions gone in a blink of an eye. Yeah, that was pretty much it. No survivors.
Okay, Volksgrenadiers, we're back in the fight.
But then Volksartillerie was definitely an interesting construction, and actually involved turning the Pak 40 into an artillery piece, which basically made it a field cannon. So that was also something, you know, slightly different. Rangers advancing up here, and we are seeing the Nebelwerfers once more getting exposed. He simply can't protect everything. Again, he's having trouble establishing a front line, and again, that is something that Demolition Jeep is taking very much gleeful advantage of, constantly striking here and there behind the rear front lines and doing quite some terrible damage. And there we go, Nebelwerfers are getting murdered, getting wrecked. And the Pak, we're seeing the Panther rolling out at the same time, assault going up the centre. We're seeing a Pak getting recruited. Hellcat's advancing, but there's not going to be much to cover it and keep it together. Knight's Cross fighting, stealing a BAR. I mean, there's several engagements going on, and there's a lot of damage going on here. Rangers getting blasted. First guys need to support the Panther. At the same time, heavy fighting. We see a Hellcat going down in flames, leaving behind a crumbling and burning pit of blackened steel. Rangers forced to retreat. Panther and Volksgunners advancing. At least I hope so. Panther definitely needs to get to the front line now to try and save the entire thing. And the Nebelwerfers are nowhere to be seen. In fact, one of them got wrecked by the Rangers.
The enemy is seizing our territory.
Just everything is crumbling. And now we see several riflemen advancing, including a veteran-free rifleman squad with the bazooka. The Paks are going to get on them. There we go. Dual sticky bombs on the Panther. Damaging the engine, taking it down to half health. Veteran D2 finally on the way for the infantry, but I do believe that is too little too late. He'd need Veteran D2 for the Panthers, and he'd need a Panther for either anyways, to keep it supported against the infantry. Instead, he's trying to crush it with a damaged engine. And it's getting sticky bombed again, immobilized. A desperate counterattack from the Knights Cross Soldiers. Pioneers rushing in to try and save the Panther. But the Pioneers are getting murdered as well. And now we do see the Hellcats rushing in. Riflemen, oh, he lost the Knights Cross Soldier squad. That the Hellcat actually goes down. The veterans if you're up in the forced away, and they've got a final sticky bomb on the Panther, and it goes down. Surprisingly enough, both Volkskrieger squads have survived throughout this entire match. So much else has died, but not the Volkskrieger squads. Well, the individual Volkskrieger have died quite a bit, I wager, but the squads themselves are still there. And now we do see a last-ditch attempt. A King Tiger. I'm not entirely sure he thinks he can win, but he's just doing it because he might as well. And there we go, Rifleman already moving in the Rangers and whatnot. Sticky bomb going off. Salvaging the Hellcat from munitions. King Tiger doing what he can with this high velocity 88mm gun. Could pretty much deal with any enemy tank in the war. Rangers going to get crushed if they're not careful. Anti-tank gun opens up. Volkskrieger's advancing. Bazooka secured by the Riflemen. Rangers have no more. Anti-tank is advancing. We're seeing a V1 rocket being called in. Pack recruit, but with barely any health left. Less than 100 victory point. We're seeing the Knights Cross going in for it. And both anti-tank guns are wiped out.
Ready. Volksgrenadiers here.
Well, there is not much left for Aljaz. Not much left standing. Not much left to fight with. And another sticky bomb goes off on the King Tiger, not the King Panther. That would be nonsensical. And there we go, down to half health. Volksgrenadiers doing what they can, but it's obviously not quite enough. Despite their most valiant and fervent wishes. And we are seeing basically a race for the victory points by the Knights Cross. As two veteran C3 Rifleman squads are going to move in. They have no chance whatsoever, and they are quickly retreating. And the King Tiger needs to point the right direction. Oh dear. Rifleman goes down. We do see... No. Not turning up. Entirely sure what Aljaz is trying to do here. Or if he's just realised he can't pull it off. Bazooka hits. Sticky bombs go off on the King Tiger. Doing quite a bit of damage and immobilizing it. Knights Cross moving in, going to probably try and fire for Bazooka. Bazooka fails to penetrate the rear of the King Tiger. More sticky bombs. Going for that victory point coming out of fire from the Hellcat. Rear armor hit this time connects. Knights Cross continue to fire away. The King Tiger turns its mighty gun on the Rifleman, fires off, killing two in the process. And the pack gets wrecked. The Rifleman go down to one man. But the sticky bomb goes off and we see GG, well played. GG. Main gun destroyed and game over. The 21st Panzer Division fought valiantly, fought heroically, but it was not enough. They stretched themselves out too much. Aljaz was confident he could hold much larger amount of territory with what he had than he actually could. Instead, he got outplayed by Demolition Jeep quite nicely, using armored cars and riflemen, constantly breaking through whatever gaps there were in the front lines and basically harassing the rear lines. Really nicely played, in fact. Lost a lot of needle revers on that. 4 needle revers basically lost that way. That is absolutely devastating. And again, you know, shows the vital importance of not just, you know, having infantry and all that, but also, you know, being able to hold a coherent front line, as the Wehrmacht is very much dependent on the concept of being able to establish that. As soon as that happens, they're going to have a much harder time. And again, you know, that even began slightly in the beginning when Aljaz, you know, began spreading out his forces too deeply. I mean, he had some chances, but again, you know, I think he shouldn't have bothered that much with the armor casts nor vehicle veterancy. He should have gotten more infantry and veterancy too for them earlier, and less Ostwind, more Panzer IV, and some veterancy for the Panthers a bit faster. But overall, fun game, exciting match, some really good play from both players, but ultimately, I mean, AsiiDemolitionJeep simply outplayed Aljaz. So I hope you learned something from it. If you did, why not subscribe, tell your friends, share it. If you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own or provide some feedback in the comments. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.